Football then and now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us. This is Football Then and Now, episode 99. I am Stu Palmer, and my co-host and cousin is Chris Hume, and it is his 40th birthday tomorrow, Friday, January the 23rd. So without further ado, mate, I'm going to get the kazoos, I'm going to get the streamers out, and we're going to have a celebration before we hit the topics of the Champions League that we're going to cover.
Oh, fucking great, yeah. Let's kick a man when he's down, yeah. I brought the pillar with from Goodison Park with me next to me.
There you go. You brought it with you, mate. And like I said to you off camera, I was going to do This Is Your Life and stuff like that. And you're like, no, you're not doing that. And I wouldn't do that to you. And I wanted to play Happy Birthday. Like, you're not doing that either.
No.
We've got it in the centre. We've got what we need in the centre there. There's the celebration there. And how are you feeling about turning 40? We've spoken about this over last year that we were closing in on 40.
To be honest with you, it's just a bloody number, isn't it? At the end of the day, you feel old when you have kids anyway. And I've had mine since I was 26, so they make me feel old as it is, especially now when you see them growing up. Now, I think I'm probably just a bit more on the side of Christ. Getting older. I've sort of, they were going through banners to put in the Marine for tomorrow for the party, and there was one saying, haha, you've lost your 30s your 30s have expired. And I'm like, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, it was just a number. Yeah, nothing changes. Life begins at 40 apparently, and I remember that on Mum's card when we had the party for her for birthday in the Marine.
Yes, 1999.
Where we sung Chocolate Salty Balls to open up the karaoke.
We sure did, mate. We sure did.
I'm not. I'm not particularly. Birthdays are boring when you get older, anyway. You know what I mean? Once you're a father and you got kids, and those days of going out on the piss and having all your mates around with you, it's been and gone now. Really, you kind of sort of sit there and go, "Oh yeah, thanks," and thanks for reminding me that I'm older today. Yeah. But
one good thing has come in on your birthday week, though, mate. Big Dunk's coming to Sunnyrill for the book tour. He's going to talk about his life, of course. He's been doing a lot of Blackstock in Liverpool. He's done copious amount of dates there. He's even done Crown Plaza in Chester. I think that has happened now, if memory serves. And he's done football. He's done hotel football, Manchester. It's like you said to me, he'll appeal to fans of other clubs. It wasn't just being an Evertonian going to see him. So we've had a good bit of news for your 40th week with that being announced, and we're doing VIP. Yeah. We're going to meet him. We had to book it, didn't we, mate?
Listen, he's since we were kids, and when he came down on loan from Rangers, he inspired us, just pure of the grit and how amazing he was as a football player. People don't realise he wasn't just the violent side of Duncan, because we saw that plenty of times, but the guy come down with a lot of anticipation. Rangers bought him thinking he was, going to be the next big thing in Scotland, and he may well have been, but it just didn't work out when you've got Ali McCoist up front, and you have to pit against him. So, he come down to Everton on loan, didn't he? And he just inspired a gloomy season, didn't he, really? Because, we went through Mike Walker. Obviously, Joe Royle took over. Dunk come in, scores against Liverpool for a first goal. And I think he just inspired everyone. And, enjoyed and loved watching him, because he was Mr. Everton, and every time he was up for something and he'd pull you in, and you saw it when he took over as caretaker manager when we beat Chelsea. The absolute joy. You read his book and of how much love he has for Everton. Obviously there are the other darker sides of it where Everton weren't exactly nicer back to him through certain aspects. You'll have to read his book, but I would say his book's absolutely fantastic, and not just because he's an Everton player, but his whole life. It was amazing to listen to, because obviously I listened for audiobook, so it's like getting a pure Duncan Ferguson experience, as he's telling you his story for his own voice. It was something that I really enjoyed, and I can't wait to meet him because I say he's our hero. He was the guy that me and you looked up to as kids for a long time, and we still did. You know, when he was at his last stages in his career, to when he came back as a coach, his caretaker, we kept an eye on him when he was at Forest Green, when he was in Vaness. So, he knows what he's talking about. And I think if you're a lover of football in general, his stories you can tell, and there's a lot of stories in his book, which I'm assuming he'll probably say more when he's live and stuff he couldn't put in the book. But you should come along and listen to him because you don't get players like him anymore. That old school centre forward battering ram, because he was a battering ram, and he scared a lot of defenders, didn't he? No defenders really wanted to go up against Duncan, but it'd be something that I hold dear because, like I said, Dunk's a massive hero of mine, massive hero of yours. So to see him in person, I know we've seen him on the pitch behind me plenty of time, but to actually stand there and meet him, and it's something I'm really looking forward to.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. He's my dad's hero, and my dad saw us winning everything in the 80s. We've spoken about this so many times. But, my dad just loved him, just everything about him, the way he carried himself, the hard man that he was, as we've said. But you know what? In the book, Bayern Munich were close to signing him. Bertie Vogts wanted to sign him, didn't he? He says this. I was quite interested about that when he was 93, so it was like the year before he came to us. So he could have had that move to Bayern. He was heavily touted. I think he doesn't get enough credit for what he could do on the pitch, as we've said before.
He was good on the ball, Stuart. He wasn't just the headering guy. And as you say, you lump it forward, you knew that he would hold the ball. But he was very good on the ball himself. It's just injuries, and I think we would all agree as Evertonians, injuries are just what, was his downfall. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I'm sure you and Gary yourselves are looking forward to it. And it's nice that us three are getting to do that, as a threesome, as we do when we go watch the games anyway at Bramley Moor. So it's something I look forward to. It's a pain in the arse, it's October, but something to look forward to in the year, obviously.
Definitely. We look forward to it. I'm going to say, obviously, Champions League happened. Last I looked with the Europa League, Villa were beating Fenerbahce 1-0 away, which is never an easy place to go. Nope. So the last I saw, they were winning. Braga Forest is happening, obviously, 8 o'clock. And there'll be other fixtures as well. But we're going to talk about the English sides in the Champions League, Chris. And, over 2 nights, Tuesday and Wednesday, of course. Arsenal, well, what more can you say? Top of the league and top of the Champions League. They've won every single game. Just to go away to Inter at any time is tough. It's been tough for years to go there and get a result. Gabriel Jesus has come back from the injury. He's been scoring. When he's come on and played, he looked brilliant. Gyökeres with a goal. Some of the fans were getting on his case a few weeks ago. He hadn't scored as many as they were thinking, but he's been putting them in, slowly but surely. They're going in, aren't they? And there's been changes to the team as well. There wasn't, he's been on the bench and things. So he hasn't played fully in matches. You've got to, say that for him. But I said the previous 2 episodes, Chris, that the Carabao Cup semi-final away at Chelsea, Arsenal's bench, mate, all 9 of them players could be in the starting 11. The depth that they have now got is just unbelievable, isn't it?
And isn't that a nice thing to have as a manager to look at, and they've had their injuries as well. Don't forget, they have lost Saliba and Gabriel a few times, over the season, which is hard for them because them two have been fantastic as a pair, for the last 18 months, maybe more so, actually. So to look at the bench and go, right, you can put on, as you say, Jesus, you've got sometimes is Odegaard back? Odegaard is the first 11 anyway, but
he's back mate.
You've got Eze, you can throw on. I mean, it goes on and on and on with them because they've bought well and they've bought every position well, and I mean you can't give them anything but props. This season they've been absolutely fantastic. They've been great in all the cups, and they're in the running to win everything at the moment. Not saying they're going to win everything because it is quite a tall order, and we've seen teams have done it and Some have put too much pressure on themselves to do it, but you can't complain, Stu. And to have players that can come on and change a game, and players that walk into most teams, may I add as well. It's great to watch, and you know what? And I'm happy for Arteta. We were unsure, weren't we, at the beginning of the season, because we said, like, it is make or break because of the amount of money he was spending. And, he's basically made us eat our words. And, obviously we have a lot of love for Arteta being, an Evertonian. And he's never, walked away from that, has he, as such? I know he kissed the Arsenal badge that one time, but hey-ho. Rooney kissed the United badge once as well. We let him back, didn't we? But, he is still a Blue and he still cares. But at the same time, you still want to see these players that have come from more recently retired and come into football and dominating. You can obviously see he's learned a lot from Pep and obviously added to it himself. So props to him and go for every cup he can go for now. I'd love for us to be in that position. But yeah, it's great to see. And it's a different team winning, potentially winning things.
Get your birthday messages in for this man, by the way. I tell you.
Oh, God. Thanks, Lewis.
Thank you, Lewis Young. Chris, happy birthday for tomorrow. I've got another one for you, Chris. I'm going to pipe these in. You need these messages, mate. I couldn't play the birthday music. You're having these messages, though.
Fuck's sake.
There's well wishes here, mate. They've got to be thrown in as we go in. And we can go overtime. We can go overtime. It's your birthday.
Not yet. I've still got time, mate.
Happy birthday, Chris. John Scott. Welcome to the club. Hope both of you are well. Cheers, John.
Cheers, John. I didn't really want to be a part of the club, but it's one of them you get pulled into either way.
Chris, I want to talk about Tottenham, and I'll tell you for why. They beat Dortmund, obviously, the other night. Dortmund had a man sent off, of course, in that game. Not taking the gloss off that. John will probably have a bit to say. I'm sure he'll comment on that as well. Tottenham, as much as Thomas Frank's getting in the neck about the domestic form, they're like the fifth. They're fifth in the table in the Champions League. They've won 4, drawn 1, lost 2. They've got 14 points on the board from 7. So, they're calling for his head in domestic terms, but he's doing really well in the Champions League. What do you feel? What's your point of view on that? Do you think it's unjust? He's been in the job 5 minutes, mate. They can't just fire another manager, can they, surely?
Well, they can. Not to be mimicking Mick McCarthy there. But, yeah, I like Thomas Frank. I think, we've spoke about Thomas Frank when he was at Brentford and, and all the hard work he did there, to come into, and we've lost Stuart. Oh, no, he's back. To come into Tottenham after Ange was there, he had to rebuild that squad again, because don't forget they lost Son. I know Son was winding down his career and what have you, but he's still an influential player. And, he's had to bring in different types of players. And I think the Conor Gallagher signing from Atletico Madrid is a brilliant one. I think a lot of teams have slept on that one. Mainly Villa. I think I would have loved him at Everton as well. Not saying I probably we'd get him because obviously you'd want to play in Europe, but I think that's a fantastic signing. He's got Richarlison when Richarlison hasn't been injured. He's got him firing, which is good to see because it's like the old Richarlison again, isn't it? In somewhat, and I feel like they're built for Europe better than they're built for the Premier League currently. And I think you got to give Thomas Frank time to re-establish things. As you said, he's been in since what? Did he take the job just before this? What was it? June, I think. So
I think I would go with you, mate. I think it was. He was announced, wasn't he?
So it's not a lot of time to give a manager. Enough time to sort of work his team out. And don't forget, they'll be down in the dumps. I know they won the Europa League, and that was fantastic. Obviously, winning any kind of trophy is amazing. But you got to give him time, and I still think you got to give him another summer to rebuild again.
John, I knew he'd comment, which is great to get his perspective. He watches, he watches every single game. He goes so often. It goes to show how bad this new format is in Champions League. 8 games to play instead of 6, and we only clear out 10 teams, and like half of like it used to be in the groups. It's felt like Europa League games this campaign. How are we fifth? And also, I'll just read the rest of it here. Also, is it worth finishing first? What do you gain? Liverpool got handed PSG last season, which we brought it up, didn't we, John, about that? I think PSG were 15th in the table. I can remember it. And then they had to go into playoff, didn't they? It reminds me of MLS League before it goes to the playoffs. Not a fan. Yeah, it was going to cause conflict changing it. It really was. And we weren't sure. And Football Manager was ahead on it when you got to that season.
Yeah, I remember.
In group phase, and I was like, what is this? So I think it has split opinion. We say about splitting opinion all the time with things. So I take John's point on there, Chris. You're playing the extra 2 games, and you were almost seeded going into the knockouts in the old format, weren't you? Mm-hmm. Now it's just not the same, is it?
I think the whole Super League situation has messed around with the Champions League because it's trying to accommodate everybody, isn't it, and keeping everyone happy. Not to say it like like John, but John obviously clearly isn't happy with the format, and I completely agree. I like the old format. I thought the old format was much better. It's still confusing. They want obviously the bigger teams to play each other for more excitement for the fans. Obviously, that obviously is one of the major things they've done it like this, but it just takes it out, and I don't enjoy it as much. I mean, I watch the highlights more than I watch a game mostly these days anyway when it comes to Champions League or any of the European Cups because, you know what I mean, just got so much to do going on at home anyway. But I think going back to the old format, I preferred that. And it was old school, and I think it's what we grew up with. And it was more exciting because things were different and things can happen. Not saying like, Bodo Glimt, what they did to City the other day wasn't exciting.
Even before predating it, there was 2 group phases years ago as well. You went through 2 group phases, didn't you? That was a thing for years because we used to play it on the old Champions League game on the PlayStation. So they changed it, and then it went into knockout. And I do agree with John. It's just like PSG went on to win it last year. But again, in the league format, they were well off. They didn't even automatically get through. So it could be anybody's. It really is. It's a lottery, I think. I think it's more of a lottery than it's ever been. I'd stay with Frank now until the end of the season. This is John just extending off what we were saying about him. Then look in the summer. My theory, Conor Gallagher coming in might have been a Poch signing as he made him captain at Chelsea. It could very well be, couldn't it?
There is a few managers going to be available at the end of the season. But again, you're going to be challenging with United at that point because I don't think obviously Carrick will be kept on. So they're going to be looking for a new manager. At the same time, City could be looking for a new manager if Pep decides, to finish it this season, which he may. You don't know. And Chelsea, you never know. Mourinho could be off before the end of the season. So I think you trust in Thomas Frank and you give him a bit more time and let him sign the players he wants to sign. And obviously loosen your purse strings in it really, and go and get some bigger players because you're seeing it now where clubs are getting these bigger players in now, and they are spending whatever they want. Still, obviously, I like Thomas Frank. I would have had him at Everton as our manager, and I still would. I still think I believe in the process with him. He's not stupid. He doesn't take things lightly. And you saw what he did with Brentford, and they had bugger all money to spend. So, keep faith.
Definitely. They've got Frankfurt away next week. A little side note about that. I was reading an article last week. We've spoken about German cheap tickets, keeping it cost effective for the fans. Mm-hmm. An article came up, €15 for a ticket for that game, Frankfurt-Tottenham. It's just, and what you're paying here, I assume they're like the same price as what you pay for a Premier League game. So they've kept it cost effective. It's great for the Tottenham fans, isn't it, next week?
Yeah, we've had this conversation many times about everything in reality of the Premier League, but it's a money grabbing scheme these days, isn't it? Let's be honest, and it is throughout the whole of the league now. I'd wish we would listen more to the German side of things. A lot of fans have a lot of say in clubs in Germany, don't they? And I agree to a certain extent to that, not fully. But cheaper prices would fill the grounds constantly. They would never be out of pocket. It mesmerizes me why one league can do it and we can't. And we got massive fan bases with big stadiums. It don't always sell out because of the prices that you have to pay to go to.
The other problem we've got is Seat Unique having all them blocks of seats, and because of the price of them, they're not being filled. People, our fans that go week in week out, have been moaning. They're overpriced. They took a block. They've took loads of blocks in the stadium. They just said it's ridiculous. I think the Derby ticket now on there has gone up to like $4.50 a ticket, and that's just your basic one. It'll go higher again depending on what hospitality group you go in, which package you're on. So that's why we've got loads of empty seats. Partially is because they've took all them blocks and they're expensive, aren't they? They're dear.
Yeah, there's too much. You can't expect a family to come out and spend, 450, and I'm assuming that's per ticket, yeah?
Yeah, per head, that.
You know what I mean? It's ridiculous, and it's like they're pushing fans away. And I looked at the fixtures going into the end of the season now that they've announced, what's going on Sky and what have you. And I think we have 3 Saturday 3 p.m. kickoffs.
Yes, I read this.
And I just think, how is that helping fans go to a game, especially the ones that are working and coming straight from work to a game, and you're pushing them out? I just don't think it's all for TV eyes, isn't it? It's not for the ones that go and spend the hard-earned money on watching the game and supporting the teams sitting at their grounds. It's made for people that sit on their arse on the telly. And, no fault to them. Some of them obviously can't get to a game, but it frustrates me.
I'm going to just need to cover Chelsea, Newcastle, but I want to talk about City because they're on the fringes. They're outside the automatic 8 places.
Mm-hmm.
A catastrophic loss at Bodo Glimt. Obviously, Spurs had a 2-2 draw there earlier on in the game weeks, of course. A friend of ours, Dan, who's been on the show a couple of times, he said, I'm not moaning about a plastic pitch. We knew we were going to be playing on that. You can't make that an argument. He just said, we've been awful. I thought first, when I'd seen that the 2 goals had gone in early, I thought they've gone weaker in this. It's a strong lineup. It was strong as anything. Rodri gets sent off, of course. Bodo Glimt's 3rd goal was a beauty, top corner. But they just can't get any traction, can they? They've had 2 wins out of 8, I think it is now.
And it's mad to think, because last time we were speaking about Man City, they were, they were doing really well.
2 wins out of 6. Sorry, my fault. Sorry.
It's one of them, isn't it? I think Rodri. I feel for Rodri because I loved Rodri. I think he was one of the players that me and you have always spoke about being a complete midfielder. I think having that injury last season, it does alter players, and they don't necessarily always come back the same player. And I haven't really seen much of obviously Rodri since he's come back into the fold with City since his injury. Only bits and pieces, so I can't really put much of a comment on him and how he's played. But it seems to me from speaking to other people that he's lost a touch, which in this day and age, if you lost a touch in that centre midfield, which is it's the rock of how the tactics and games are going now, isn't it? Everything plays through that centre midfielder. It's difficult, isn't it? And it's another one that's very difficult to replace because of what he's done and what kind of player he is and has been in the past. I think we're going back to City's game against Bodo Glimt. You have these sort of games that happen. I'm not saying City performing well, because obviously they're not against Manchester United. It was a bit of a shocker for them there as well. But you do have these sort of bumps in the road, and they're too good of a team with too many good players, to sustain this. What do you say? They've only won 3 in 8.
They've got 2 in 6. That was my fault. And they'd had 3 draws in the league before losing to United.
Right.
So they've not won in 4 now in the league. They'd obviously won the first leg of the Carabao Cup against Newcastle, and they beat Exeter, as we said off camera. And it'd be interesting to see what Dan really thinks, actually. Because
I think we spoke about it as well. Semenyo and Gueye are excellent signings, and I think both of them will complement City style and Pep style really well. And obviously, Semenyo's already scored a few goals, hasn't he, since he joined? Gueye, I think they needed someone with that experience. Obviously, I think they lost. Is it Diaz is injured, isn't he? And they need that experience at the back. And I think I think they've done a great job getting him in now, because they would have a lot more clubs obviously fighting for him in the summer because he was free. So it's great that they got him in now. I just think maybe a lot of players have had their time.
He had the defensive crisis as well, didn't he? They were saying they pushed it through. I think they were going to hang fire till the summer and get him on that free. But his hand was forced. He's had all these injuries. Gvardiol's out. We know Diaz is out. So I think his hand was forced. I think they were going to hang fire. But again, 20 million's nothing when they were touting 70, 75, 80 for him 12, 18 months ago. Newcastle were all over it. So in some respects, I know Palace needed to keep hold of him. They'd lost players in other positions and he was pivotal. But I think in some respects, I think Palace should have sold him sooner. I believe that. But they've been fantastic. They won the FA Cup, didn't they? They won the Community Shield. They had a fantastic run last season. I understand why. I just think they've took a major, major hit because they could have got big money for him. And then, replaced, couldn't they then? They had enough money then to go back in.
But you got to remember now, on the talk of Palace, Krasnodar's leaving at the end of the season. Mateta looks like he's going to be gone before the end of the window. Yeah, when it rains, it fucking pours, doesn't it? We've been there and we've seen it.
Alvin Wharton will be getting sniffed.
Yeah,
Munoz, when he's back fit, he's out at the moment. They can get cherry picked, and they're not back in Glasner, Chris. Sorry, I jumped in.
No. And I was going to say about the not back in Glasner, and I think one of them, obviously, for the reasons you must be thinking, well, I'm going to go because I'm not being backed here. It's a shame because I think since he's come in, he was a bit ropey at the beginning, but he turned them round, and they've lost some good players. Sahar, Elise, Eze, which if you think back before Grasner was there, they were the three main players. And they were like 11th, 12th every season, didn't they? They finished round about there. He come in, he's changed the formation. The formula of Palace is different now. And, they have bought good players, and they've always bought young players from the Championship and evolved them and moved them on. But you've got to look at it. You think is Eze in the summer, Gueye now, Mateta possibly at the end of the window. It's a lot for a club to lose and replace in such a small window where everyone knows now you've got money and they're going to hike up everything. It's a difficult one. If they want better, obviously they can have better for 20 million.
The thing is, they signed Brennan Johnson. It's just like, right, okay, you're fine, 35 million. And again, I said to Anne the other day when I was on with him, he said, and they're on about redeveloping Selhurst Park. I understand Selhurst Park is dated. In my opinion, I think they're too focused on getting that stadium right and they're letting this team fall apart. Because obviously, I understand it's revenue that they're going to get from doing the stadium. I totally understand it. But you've got to have it right on the pitch. And they've had it so right on the pitch, so well organised and run so well. It's like I think they've took their eye off the ball, the powers that be, and they're too worried about getting Selhurst Park redeveloped. That is my true feelings on this. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion.
The thing is, when you start with the whole redeveloping or building a new stadium, a lot of your money goes into that. So there isn't much money there. When we saw it when we were doing Bramley Moor, there wasn't much money to spend. Arsenal had the same problem when they built the Emirates. They had to do with what they had, make do with what they had because they couldn't spend money. The thing is, if you're going to do that, you have to be careful, as you say, because the squad then does take a massive hit. And as you say, I think Wharton will probably be the next one to go in the summer, and I think he's destined for a top 4 team. I just think he's absolutely fantastic, and he should be another one for me that goes to the World Cup. Solid player, but again, Palace always do very well. They find these gems for not so much, not spending so much money on them, but they always find these gems. from the Championship, something that Moyes was quite good at back in the day for us. So, good luck to them. I think things are going to be a bit iffy now, with Grasner going and obviously Mateta potentially leaving. So I hope they find replacements before the end of the window, because it'll be a shame to see them fizzle quite badly with the players they've lost.
Definitely. I just want to bring us back into it because I moved this down the table a bit further. It's my fault. Newcastle and Chelsea are in 7th and 8th, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
The way this table's been done, it's win, loss, draw. It's not like how it used to be, win, draw, loss. So I did the records wrong before. It's my fault. I'm just looking through now, but it's fine. It's Newcastle. Newcastle have got to go to PSG. PSG are in 6th. They're in 7th. And Chelsea have got to play Napoli. So it's not cut and dried for them to, they could end up in the playoff bit. It's very, very tight. I'll just have a look where Napoli are. And if Napoli are fighting to get into that, top 8 there. No, Napoli are well off, Chris. So Chelsea have got a good chance. Napoli 25th. So I think they've got to be 24th to get into that playoff. They're only on 8 points. So what do you think in terms of Newcastle and Chelsea? Do you think they can get through and not have the playoff round? Or do you think they're going to have tough matches next week? PSG and Napoli, respectively.
Well, speaking of Chelsea first, I think you said going to Napoli. It's a difficult place. And you've got ex-rival there, haven't you? Conte, ex-manager. We all know that Scott McTominay has been fantastic there as well, haven't we? So I want to give a shout to him because he's really improved his career since moving from Man United. That'll be a difficult game, but I think Chelsea have got enough to beat Napoli. But they could get a draw there, Stuart, and still finish decent. It's Napoli that need the win, so the onus is on Napoli to beat Chelsea next week. So I think it could play to Chelsea's hands, depending on obviously which Chelsea shows up. And I'm unsure on Rosenior as a manager for because it's a lot of pressure. And we've seen what happens to managers.
I've got concerns with it as well.
Yeah, and managers that go to Chelsea with pressure don't seem to do very well. Newcastle, if that was PSG at St James's Park, I'd say they'd probably do very well against them like they did. Well, not probably beat them 4-1 like they did last time, because PSG are a different animal now. But it's going to be a very, very hard game to go and beat PSG. I think Newcastle probably at most should look at playoffs. If they can get a draw there, fantastic. But PSG, like I say, Luis Enrique's got them ticking, and he's changed the whole philosophy at that team, hasn't he? He's got rid of all the big egos, and he's betted on youth and experience, which is you saw last season at Champions League how well it's done. It's a tall ask for Newcastle to go to PSG and win, but again, as you say, look at Birdo Clinton City yesterday. Weird things happen in football, and sometimes they can shock you. I hope they win, because you want all the teams in the Premier League to do
through, mate. Definitely, absolutely. Somebody. I think they're not all going to get in automatically. Something will happen where I think it'll be playoffs. Something's going to happen. I think City have got Galatasaray at home, just to say about their fixture.
Right.
So
okay.
You'd like to think they can do it, and I think if they win, it's very tight. It's so clustered. It's like the Premier League, mate.
Yeah,
it's very much akin to that. It's weird, mate. But I think John's saying about the 6-game format, and it was better. I think it has made it a bit exciting, this as well. Looking at it from that side, I think there's a bit of excitement. That's how I feel. But I totally take John's point.
I'd take the old format back over the current format, and obviously I know people who listen or watch us might disagree. I just prefer the old format. It's always worked, but hey ho, yeah, catering to Americans and stuff now, and they all want to watch the Real Madrid and Barcelona's, against the other big teams across the world.
What are these interviews at half time, mate, with the managers?
Oh, I saw ours against Villa, and Tarkowski did one, and I'm like, why are we interviewing at half time?
I'm extending off your American style broadcasting and how they do it.
And that's the way it's going.
No,
that's the way it's going.
You're giving away what you're going to be doing. It's like, no, it's got to be top. It's got to be top secret, like, sealed, mate. Signed, sealed, mate. You don't. It's like when Calvert-Lewin was up in the studio. That was at full time before Christmas, and he's there in his sliders, and I'm just like, they interview him, don't they, outside the changing rooms? That's always been a thing. But I'm like, what is going on? You never had a player in the studio after. But I know times change. I'm not trying to be a dinosaur about it, and we love the 90s so much, don't we? And in the early 2000s into the mid 2000s, we really did. And we try to encompass that we like modern football, don't we? But we have our grievances about modern football. But it's just like you're saying, mate, it's too Americanized.
But shouldn't Tarkowski at that point when he's getting interviewed, he should be in the dressing room, getting the team talk for the second half.
Yeah.
And he's been interrupted for, I know it was only like a couple of minutes worth of the interview, but he doesn't really want to focus on talking about how well we've done in the first half. I mean, that's between the 11 players and David Moyes, or some Emery and Villa and their players. No, I'm not into the whole American. Next, before you know it, we'll have fucking adverts going on halfway through the game.
You know what, mate? You know American firm owns Sky now, don't you? Just know it. Comcast own it, and you can just tell they're putting the little bits in, aren't they? They've done it ever so quietly, and now it's just full blown. You can tell, it's American owned. You really can. That is, like you say, he had the armband on, didn't he? He's got more pressing matters at hand. We needed to win the game. It was obviously 0-0 at that point. So I take your point, mate. Why? And it's going to carry on, mate. I think I've seen Marco Silva getting interviewed at half time. It's just like, what?
He's got a team talk.
I know. Far be it for me to be negative about it, but just
but you're not catering to me in that, though. You're not catering to me. I am not interested. You know what I mean? If our team's 2-0 down and you're interviewing David Moyes at half time to ask him how he feels, fuck off. He's got something he needs to do in that dressing room to turn this game around, and you're wasting precious time because we've only got 15 minutes before they get back on. No, I'm not into it. I don't want no NFL-style Premier League, thank you.
Not at all. I'm just going to say about Arsenal quickly, because I want to do a little bit about you and nostalgia just before we close, because it's your 40th tomorrow, and I wanted to give you the onus on this episode. And you haven't been on, and I was like, we've got to do some old school, because I know I mentioned the old school, but Arsenal, 100% record anyway. They've got Kairat, who knocked Celtic out in the qualifying stages, so they've been the whipping boys in the league phase anyway. But remember, Liverpool lost the last game because they had enough points last year, didn't they, to top it? But I think Arsenal will want to win regardless. I think they want all 8-1, don't they? And they're not. Kairat are not going to be strong enough anyway. And I think Arsenal are at home, if I remember rightly. They're not having to go away there.
So you got to remember now, Stu. Arsenal's second team is just as good as the first team. Well, to a degree, obviously certain players are standouts and they deserve to be in the first team all the time. But no, you want to keep the confidence. You want to keep that winning mentality. You go full throttle, don't you? Maybe you give some of the first teams 60 minutes and you give the rest 20. You know what I mean? I think Arteta will maybe do that. Maybe some young youth players that can come on to shine a bit. I don't know. I don't think Arteta's going to stand and go and do what Slot did last season. Go right, okay. We'll let all these players play now. Give them minutes. If it's fine, and then you lose, and then a little bit of doubt creeps in. Not saying a massive amount, but a little bit. So you kind of catch-22 there. So if I'm Arteta, I'm going in with my first team that's played throughout the Champions League if I can and everyone's fit. And then I'll give them to 60 minutes, and then I'll be like, right, okay, you're coming off. You can get some minutes now. In a comfortable lead, nothing's going to go bad. So I think that's what you should do, and I think that's what irks me sometimes when it comes to the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, when you see teams, the bigger teams, play lesser players against the smaller teams, and you see, you've seen what happens when the smaller teams do get the odd win every now and again. And it's egg on your face, isn't it? I don't see Arteta changing anything. He'll keep that winning mentality all the way now to the end of the season. As much as he can.
Yeah, it's just that way. It's just that way out. You can tell how determined he is. Yeah. He was determined as a player. That was how good he was.
He was, yeah.
They are at home. They are at the Emirates for that game, so it's.
Well, there you go.
They could win. They could win away. They're not good enough, that side. Although they made Celtic look silly, but I mean that's just been the case.
Well, Celtic have just drawn 2-2 with Bologna, so
there you go. Well, Martin O'Neill's back. And why they didn't extend it? He didn't want it when he came into him that first time, and then Nancy came in. He's managed in the MLS, mate. I was like, what is going on? You've just got to tell Martin O'Neill we need you till the end of the season. And lo and behold, he's come back because he had a great run in that first interim run. And I was like, why are you not nailing him down? He obviously didn't want it. He's ended up coming back. But yeah. That's just Celtic at the moment, and I hope Hearts win the league, mate.
You know what? Yeah,
nobody's won it. Bar Celtic and Rangers since the 80s. Nobody else. Aberdeen did it in the 80s. That was the last time that the Scottish
Ferguson, Alex Ferguson when he was manager of Aberdeen, wasn't it? Yeah,
it'd be amazing, mate. It'd be amazing if that happens.
Yeah, but Martin O'Neill knows everything when it comes to football. He might be a dinosaur himself, but he was a very, very good manager. And, he took Villa as far as he could do with them, and it was quite close to the Champions League at the time. I think as you say, I'd probably go with you. We want to see Hearts sort of, because it's a change, isn't it? And sometimes, when Leicester won the league, it was mental. But you will always remember that, even though they've been relegated 5 times and they've won the FA Cup, the Charity Shield, and the Premier League. I always like to see change and difference. And it was
RX player Benny Benigamy still up there playing. He got sent off in the game the other week though, but they managed to win. But a lot of people said, why was Lawrence Shankland not signed by Rangers or Celtic? And they've managed to keep hold of him. He's been brilliant for them for years. He's been really good and he's been scoring. So I'll be chuffed for Benny Benigamy as well because he had to move on. It didn't work out with us. He got a few games here and there, but I'd be chuffed. I'd be chuffed if he gets a title on his resume as well.
Yeah, I always remember him in that the Carabao Cup game at Stamford Bridge, and his tackles were ferocious, like proper old school, all in. We didn't see much. I think, as you say, he played about 5 games maybe for us on all. It's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? Sometimes you have to go away to come back. Obviously, some players don't come back, and some players, they do. So, props to him if he does win a title in Scotland, because if Hearts do win, they won't be forgotten about.
It'd just be amazing. I've segued into Scottish football, mate. That wasn't on the agenda. But this is this show at times. It's what makes it great, the spontaneity of it. That's what we like, don't we, at times? Because we are structured to a point, but we don't want to be overly structured. But you know what, Chris? It was nice talking about all the English teams in the Champions League, because we haven't done that. We've touched upon and we've focused on a few here and there, haven't we, at different points? But it was nice to give them the rub, because it's been amazing seeing 6 teams in it. You don't normally have 6 English clubs in it. So brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I got some questions for you because it's the birthday tomorrow. I've asked you so many things about everything.
These questions now.
So many things. Who is the best player you've seen at Goodison Park who is playing for the opposition? And we've seen a whole host of players, mate, so it's going to be very difficult. But I know you'll have an answer for me.
Bloody hell. I'd probably say Frank Lampard. And he was I know he's a former manager, but as a player, Stuart, he was one of the best in the world at this time. And he always had this problem. He always scored belters against us at Goodison Park, always, and it frustrated the fuck out of me. But he was fantastic, and you can see what his career at Chelsea and what he did there. He was someone I really enjoyed watching, and we saw Chelsea a fair few times when he was there. And I think I'd say him Ryan Giggs, minus what Ryan Giggs has done in his personal life as a football player, is absolutely fantastic and someone that was brilliant on that left wing. And he mesmerised defenders, isn't he? You can always go back to that one that I think everyone thinks about is the FA Cup one against Arsenal, and he whips his top off, and it looks like he's got a rug on along his chest. He was a highlight to watch. And I'll say the last one. Now it's gone up my head. Bolton Stewart, Nigerian.
Okocha.
Yes.
JJ.
We went. JJ Okocha. That's there you go. Iwobi's uncle, isn't it, or something?
Yes.
Or cousin, whatever.
Yes, it is. It was like Nigerian. He was like the Nigerian version of Samba football, mate. He was in his own. But he had his own style altogether, mate. I'm not just going to say he was copying the Brazilians, but he was just a talent on his own with skill. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I remember when we went to watch Bolton and Everton. We have a few times again when Sam Allardyce was there with his deals, bringing in these older players, but they all turned out for him. Jokayev, Kevin Davis, Gary Speed, God bless his soul, was brilliant at Bolton. But Okocha, he just do things that were just amazing, and you'd be like, how can he do that? And he made it look so effortless. And I also think he always looked like he was having fun, Stuart. He didn't look like he was ever frustrated. He just looked like he was there and he was having the best time of his life. And he obviously did. I remember he hit the bar that day as well when we went, and it was 0-0 the game against Bolton. And he had that free kick, and I think it was like the 70th minute, and it just clipped the top of the bar. But those are the things he was capable of doing because he was good at set pieces as well. I think those three stand out massively for me because you saw the progression. Maybe Okocha obviously a bit later on in his career when he came to Bolton, but he had his time at PSG, didn't he, Okocha and stuff like that. But watching Giggs, through the 90s and then Lampard from West Ham to Chelsea, you're inspired by that. Obviously, I know Lampard came to us and he was a manager for a short period of time, and he instilled a bit of passion back to us when he was here. Not his time for us. You can see what he's doing for Coventry right now, which is fantastic, and all the best to him for it. I will always be thankful for the Palace game and Dele Alli turning the game round. The only game he ever turned around for us when he was here. But and something we'll never forget. But there was three, I'd say.
And I've got another one, mate. Now, we had our favourite stand to sit in, and it became, I think the Park End was actually our favourite, but we love the Gladys as well. If there was, you can't sit in the Park End, you can't sit in the Gladys at Goodison when we used to go. Where would you place yourself for a ticket in that ground? Where would you sit as an alternative?
I wouldn't. Family enclosure, I'd definitely say no, because you can't have a beer. Yeah. And you need a beer sometimes when the game is dire. You need that calming, even though it was usually Carling or Carlsberg. It was disgusting, but hey ho, beer's a beer at the time. Probably say main stand.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever sat at the Bullens at all. Actually, the whole time I ever went, I don't think I did. Did I?
Did the paddock? The Bullens. I think when we hammered Sunderland.
When we were there, when we beat them
7.
No, we didn't do the 7 one. We were there for the 6.
We were in the lower for that, and I've sat in the lower Bullens a few times, but not many, mate. To be fair,
because I can't say from sitting in because I can't remember about the Bullens, but a main stand we've done a few times. So that would probably be where I'd go, but it wouldn't be what I'd want to be. Where I want to be, and I want to be in the Park End, and we've had some absolutely fabulous nights. Drunk sitting in that part of the stadium, and you rallying up away fans, and Sam Donegan getting threatened across the way. And
he was throwing. He deserved it in the end. He couldn't take it with what came back, mate, and he wasn't happy about it. But we were all laughing, and then he was calm. He calmed down once he got back to the car. Bless him.
Yeah, and then we robbed all his beer from the back of his boot.
Just to put the boot in. Oh my days, mate. Yeah, just I miss. I've gone a couple of times onto the new stadium, but I do miss being there, mate. I really do, and I know the under-21s have been playing there. The women are playing there, but
yeah, which is great.
A lot of it's tarped off now. And I know Mike and Holy Trinity was there. He's just done an interview with Pacheco, hasn't he?
Yeah, I did see.
Absolutely fantastic. I spoke to him earlier. He's been and he said back home. So it might be a point where we need to go. I think just to, be in there again. But it seems strange to me when I see it all tarped off. A lot of the sections.
Yeah, no, I've seen whenever I've been on telly, and I've flicked on when the ladies have been playing, and it does look strange. Seeing like the top half all pretty much gone now. It's obviously still there, but there's no seats, is there? Yeah, it's strange because we've spent 40 years of our life going to that ground, and it looks weird. It's still it's still there, and I'm glad it's still there, and I'm glad we've given it to the ladies in the under-21s because they deserve it, and they deserve to be in a proper place, not Southport playing at some flipping poor field. They've got a proper ground that can be maintained, and it's a good look for them, which I'm most proud of. But yeah, I do miss the ground. Don't get me wrong. When we were there first time at Bramley Moor, it was amazing. Don't get me wrong, and the space underneath the turnstiles was incredible. Considering we're not, Goodison, you were like sardines in a tin can, weren't you? We're getting a beer at half time or a beer before kickoff. So the space at Bramley Moor was fantastic. I don't know. Goodison's always been something that we've been as kids and something we've grown up with, and it's like our home away from home, isn't it? And that last day that we went there and we did the tour, I think to me that was like, it was sad because it was like, we couldn't get to a game, which was sad enough, but to say goodbye to it because there's so many highs and so many fucking lows at that ground. But I wouldn't replace them, and I'd go through the same shit day in, day out, year in, year out, decade by decade. I'd still do the same. I'd go through it again because it was incredible, and we shared it. Me and you as kids, as now adults, and as parents, we're still doing it, and I think that's what memories are made for, is to go and do things like this. And okay, yeah, sad but not Goodison, but I have high hopes that we'll think about Goodison in years go by as what a memory, but look what we've got now and how incredible it is. Okay, yes, they do need to sort of transport out, and it is a bit shit all the walking you have to do comparison to Goodison Park, and I miss pitching in the bushes, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I've got nothing but all good memories, even when we've gone there and we've lost. The day out, the experience, and just being around you and Gary and everybody that came with us, and then being with everybody at the ground who feeling exactly the same as us, 40,000 people pissed off or cheering them on, and it's something I'll never forget. And I think people who sit and watch Sky Sports have never been to a ground, they're missing out so much.
Oh, don't get Tom Perrott started on that. They're in their armchairs because he goes so much to Old Trafford, of course. He's got his season ticket still, if memory serves, and he goes mad about the Sky generation and all that. Many games, if he is at home, he turns the sound off.
You know what, though? You know what I've also found, right? Perrott might agree with this as well. They not only are they now obviously they're watching it on Sky and they're sitting on the chair and going to the game and feeling what it's like to be at a real game. They're spending more time on social media typing about the fucking game than watching it these days. And I'm like when I am at home and I have to watch the game, me, I turn my phone off, it goes airplane mode, the tablet goes on airplane mode, and I strictly am stuck then to the game. For 45 minutes I'll speak to you. And then as soon as the second half comes on, I put my phone back off and I'm watching the game. I can't understand how people can sit there and type away and complain on social media when there's a game on. My focus is on one thing only.
Yeah, definitely, mate. It's been brilliant, mate. I thought, let's wrap it up. And it's about you, because obviously it's the big 4-0 tomorrow, of course. So have a lovely day tomorrow, mate.
I'll try to.
I'm going to ask you, mate. I've robbed this off Chris Van Fleet when he does his wrestling podcast. He always asks people 3 things that you're grateful for. So I've robbed it off him because people who don't know who Chris Van Fleet is, he's the best wrestling podcast out there. He is the best. Everyone's striving to be as good as him. Humble, down to earth, no side to him whatsoever. You know, he worked for news broadcasters for years, interviewing film stars and all that. He's been with Dwayne that many times at press junkets and things like that. So he deserves to be where he is. So I'm just saying, people who don't know who he is, he's a wrestling podcaster, so famous now, amazing. He interviews all the top stars. But yeah, things you're grateful for, mate, before we go, leading up to the 40th.
I'd say my family, and I mean all of you, even you know, including ones I don't like speaking about. Family, my own kids, they inspire me a lot, and you know, we as a family have gone through a lot of difficulties. You know, the house and illnesses, and they keep bouncing back, and I think it's inspirational that it drives me to keep going forward and keep fighting for what they need in life. And then football, because it's forever since, you know, we've been in love with the sport. It's one thing I can have a really shitty day and I'm really, you know, really low, and Everton can still lose and make it fucking worse. But for those 90 plus minutes, I'm not thinking about what's happened today. I'm thinking about what's going on the pitch, and the sort of feeling you get, especially, you know, those Palace games when we're down and out and we're going down. We assumed that this was going to be the case at half time, sitting there at Goodison, and then all that happens, and that sort of stuff lives with you forever. And you know, and sharing it as well, I think is very important to me as well. Is like, you know, that's something that me, you, and Gary have something that we shared about, and probably one, even for Gary, as you say, me seeing it all, he probably said that's one of his favourite games he's ever been to. It's just sharing, and football is something that takes me away from dire straits in life where, yeah, okay, as I say, Everton haven't been the greatest in the last couple of seasons. Jesus Christ. It's been a difficult one. But yeah, family and football, I think
Perfect.
It is what keeps me going, and what I'm lucky to have.
It's an escapism, mate, and you know, you've shed light there about the struggles that have gone on. You know, you're away from the show. We haven't divulged into that because that's your personal information, of course, but you're away for a long time. I know you're refreshed when you've been back on the show, of course. And no, it's just great. It's just great having you back, mate. It really is. And you know, it's made you stronger. Okay.
Yeah,
and that's what counts in all of this. And you've done brilliant. You've done really well. You know.
I know, appreciate it. You listen, I wouldn't be telling you 10 years ago I'll be studying law, and you know, I'm in my second year. You know what I mean? And that's it's just, things change and things take directions you don't expect. You know what I mean? I could have told you 10 years ago I was going to be a professional fucking wrestler. You know what I mean? But yeah, things like you can never see into the future. And I think for me, it's like, you know, you do get the tough times where you do have to jump a lot of hurdles to get to places. And I think for me is you can't stop fighting. You got to keep fighting. You got to keep pushing, even though it's difficult and you're not getting what you want from other people to inspire you to, you know, to carry on. You just got to drag yourself through it. And I think I've done that because, you know, I've got 3 children and I want to inspire them as they grow up that, you know, even if they're not enjoying school, say for Lily, it's not the end of the day. Lots of people do good things after school, even if they've not done well. And this is what I'm trying to explain to her, you know, studying law and yeah, that's it really.
No, mate, no, it was great. It's great. I thought we need to end this in this way.
In a sorrow way.
Because we're so focused on the topic of football, and then, you know, with podcasts and stuff like that, people do veer off onto the mental health.
Yeah.
And all, so we don't do that often on here. And I thought
no.
with tomorrow and all that, amazing. And mate,
well, yeah, tomorrow, you know, party in the Marine, 7 p.m. If anyone's listening from the All-Calling area that remembers me and we were good friends back in the day, and I'm sorry I don't speak to you anymore. I'm just a fucking hermit and I can't be arsed talking to many people. So don't take that, in a bad way. But if you want, the door is open at 7 o'clock on the Marine till 12 o'clock. So if you want to jump in, have a pint, say hello, say happy birthday, I might tell you to fuck off at that point. Feel free to come and join us.
Absolutely. We will be back for episode 100. I don't know when. We don't know yet. Probably next week. And we'll be looking at some, I think, a bit more nostalgia, because we've really it's been very current for weeks and weeks and weeks. But the 100th episode, which is massive. We're approaching 2 years. February 8th, 2024 was obviously the first episode. So we're very close now. And just thank you to everyone who's listened to us, everyone who's viewed this, watched all the clips that I just post. But you've got to do that. You've got to do that. He'll be annoyed that I'm tagging him every 2 minutes, but it's just to get it out there, because you just never know. You never know. And we're all striving to do this and make money. I don't care what anyone's saying. So that's the end goal. That's what everyone wants. I don't care what anyone says. Anyone who's doing this, that is what you want to do. So just thank you, I think, to encapsulate everything this evening, to our viewers and listeners, to our guests. We've had so many fans of different clubs as well, more so in the last 12 months.
And we're going to work on more and get other clubs in, because I still think I'd like to get some different clubs, fans from different countries, Serie A, La Liga, to get a different perspective. And I think people would like to hear their perspective. We don't have to always talk about the Premier League. There are facets of leagues all over the world that we can talk about. We might not be that clued up on it, but give us time, we'll get there.
Definitely. Well put, mate. Well put. In closing, as I say, we will be back next week. We don't know time and date as yet, but I will put it out on the socials ahead of time when me and Chris know what we're doing. Enjoy tomorrow, mate. Enjoy tomorrow. And we don't play till Monday. Of course, we've got Leeds, which will not be easy. After beating Villa, I'm not taking that as a given. And the home form, the way it is, that could be very tricky, because Leeds have been brilliant over the last couple of months. They've been decent. I've been very impressed with them, because they were a bit sluggish, weren't they?
No Grealish as well, which is going to be a major hit. So hopefully we can get Njai back in the team and we can, push on without Grealish, which is sad, really. Sad to see that he won't be here. Maybe towards the end of the season we might see him again. But I'd say I'd thank Grealish for showing our fans and players what a world-class player can be capable of doing.
As bad as Brentford was, and obviously you weren't there for reasons we will not go into. It was a bloody shame on the day. I don't really need to get graphic about what was going on. We were gutted. My dad, before Grealish pinged that ball in for the first assist, as bad as the game was, he's been shit today. He's calling it in the stand. I was like, oh no. And then he put another one in, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he just had to be quiet, mate. It was quite funny. It's like he's done nothing all game, and then all of a sudden it just pings that ball in, mate, with his wand of a foot, and he gets the assist. But that's him. He comes up at times, doesn't he, when you're just not expecting him. And that's the best players. The best players have that in their locker to do something out of nothing.
Yeah, but it just also doesn't help Stuart when he's got Mikalenko next to him on
that. No, he's got a cover. He's doing a hell of a lot of covering where he should be further at the pitch. Yeah. Quite right, mate. Quite right. But gutted about his injury.
Absolutely.
And I just hope he's going to be all right. But he could be back in April, but I don't know. He's then got to rehabilitate. I don't think we're
get fit again as well. Yeah, and don't forget he's 30 now, so it's not like he's a spring chicken.
No, not at all. But
we'll see what happens in the summer for that as well.
Absolutely. It's been great. We've done extra time. It's Chris's birthday celebration, as I say, so I want to do extra. It's been brilliant. It's been absolutely brilliant. And as I say, we'll see you next week for episode 100. We may have a guest. We may not. We'll work it out. We'll sort it out. We're just happy doing what we're doing. We enjoy it. We love the feedback. We will see you next week for episode 100. This celebration, 100th episode. Another milestone in the bag for Football Then and Now. Take care, everybody.
Football then and now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.